Testing, testing, test, 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 test. Let me just test the audio real quick. Testing. Okay. Testing.
Would love to
Testing,
go on a
testing.
show and
Would
call
love
him
to
Testing,
on a
testing.
show in a suit and call him
Testing,
on a
testing.
show in a suit and call him
Testing,
on a
testing.
show in a suit and call him
Testing,
on a
testing.
show in a suit and call him
Testing,
on a
testing.
show in a suit and call
Alright, now that I know that works, I can get into it. Lower the game for me. I'll probably lower the game too. Yeah. You know what? Let me lower the game a lot. Let me lower the game a lot. And you know what? Let me make it smaller. Make that smaller. There we go. It doesn't need to be that big. Just to give the sense that I am watching it without actually displaying it in a way that can be like, I don't know, considered malfeasance. I don't know, but considered like using the property or whatever, even though I am transforming the work, because I hopefully will be talking quite a bit over this. Hopefully, because I think, personally, I think Hasan is dangerous. I think his misguidance, whether that's intentional or unintentional, is really dangerous. He's a fucking idiot. And he projects. If anyone watches Hasan, especially over the past couple of days or weeks with the attack in Israel and then Gaza, you will notice him go after people in chat mercilessly. I think I said that right. But the way he goes straight into like ad hominem attacks, but all he does is project. Like all his behaviors and mannerisms that people can see. Like people, like anyone intelligent can see his body language and his cadence, his tone, how he's getting flustered, the certain things that he picks on and projects is things that he's at fault for doing as well, and even more so. And he's so funny. He calls everybody like schizos and shit like that. It's like, come on. Like you can't unironically call a person a schizophrenic in any sort of circumstance. You know, calling someone a schizophrenic is like it's like it's any type of ad hominem or slur type of thing. It's just stupid. It's just erroneous. Like, because to me slurs are erroneous. They're just things people say when they get upset, and they, you know, it's based on a stereotype or like a historical dogma or some type of offense that has taken on a life of its own. But outside of that, it's just erroneous nothingness. And that's what he does. He just projects so much, like he knows nothing of what he speaks of, and it's completely from a biased standpoint. So I'm going to start playing it.
Well, tonight he can do just that.
And I just want to like go over it because he's just so stupid.
From the
And he is a dangerous person because he has
Piers Morgan, uncensored.
he has a
Good
big
evening from London. Welcome to Piers.
he has a big platform that it's a social media platform. He's a social media person. Like, he's not a serious person. He's that's something else that he projected out there is in a stream, which I thought would be a hilarious shirt. and he called someone, he in a fit of rage, in a fit of malding rage, he's like, "You're such an unserious person," but he like said it as like a slur, or like trying to undermine them, or like as an offensive derogatory term. You're such an unserious person, and it just made me laugh, and really amused me, because like I thought, like, that's actually kind of like a cool, like, I if someone called me an extremely unserious person, like, I would take that as a compliment. I'd be like, thank you, like, I'm glad I'm not coming off as like a serious bastard all the time. But he's just very funny in his dictations and proclamations, when in reality so much of what he says is to the contrary when you look at the facts, or if you take out this emotional core that seems to be controlling everything else.
Piers Morgan Uncensored, for all the politics and tribalism that charges the debate about Israel's war, the one thing we should all be able to agree on is surely that every innocent life lost is a tragedy. Thousands of people have been killed already, all leaving behind families who will have to live with unspeakable grief. The difference between the Hamas attacks and the Israeli retribution is intent. Israel may be cavalier about civilian deaths and, to use that awful phrase, collateral damage. But killing civilians is not their aim. The Hamas terrorists, on the other hand, wanted to kill as many innocent people as they could. When it comes to blame and condemnation, that's an important distinction. When it comes to grief and sympathy, there's no difference. And many of our celebrities seem to have forgotten that. But to be clear, actors, musicians and artists are under no obligation whatsoever to air their views on geopolitics. They're perfectly entitled to. It's a free country. But I think we probably all rather hear less of them than more about this stuff. But when they do speak out, they should try not to let the gleaming intensity of their virtue signal blind them to some basic decency.
And that perfectly fits Hasan, is this person that's trying to be so virtuous. And I was thinking about this earlier, like the phrase and the ideology and the mentality of, I'm gonna be on the right side of history. You're on the wrong side of. That is the most ignorant, stupid thing, like ever. Like ever. There's no such thing as right and wrong side of history. It's just history. It's just shit that happened, and some stuff we choose, hopefully, not to repeat. It's like the Mayans were on the wrong side of history, or like, the Aztecs were on the wrong side of history, and these people that sacrificed, or and maybe ate bleeding hearts, or at some point, oh, they're on the wrong, but yet they have amazing civilizations, and there's just, it's almost like an artist doing something. Like, we all have our biases about who we want to support or not. Like Chris Brown, I'll never support him. I don't like his music. I think it's counterintuitive for me as a listener to hear some guy singing about love and fucking women shit when he like beat the shit out of one of the biggest pop stars of all time, and people just kind of like forgot about it. Like, to me, that is contradictory to a certain type of code of ethics. It would be like, it's why people like Jimmy Savile are so fucking disgusting, because first of all, they've done the worst atrocities, but at the same time, they not only did that, but they posed as the exact opposite in order to infiltrate and get more victims. It's different when it's someone that their art is so much further from the things that they're doing, instead of where their art becomes an intricate ploy in how they use their will for a greater agenda, whether that's personal or nefarious or benevolent and helpful to people. But I don't think Hasan is able to distinguish. I think he is a plant. I think he's just as much as a puppet as like a president or someone like that, where for one reason or the other, he has a platform that is being used as a way to undermine and, in guise, disrupt and dismantle what would otherwise be more beneficial for everybody. In a long term, he's just, or in short terms, he's just a shit talker that is full of bullshit.
More than 2,000 British actors, including stars like Tilda Swinton, Steve Coogan, and Maxim Pike, have signed an open letter which condemns the war in Gaza. We're witnessing a crime and a catastrophe, they wrote. Israel has reduced much of Gaza to rubble. Our governments are not only tolerating war crimes, but aiding and abetting them. We demand that our governments end their military and political support for Israel's actions. And on it goes. Not one single word in this letter mentions the Hamas terror attacks. Not one single word mentions the 1,400 people in Israel who were butchered, nor the 200 men, women, and children snatched as hostages. Don't they care about them? Did they not know that happened? Or do they think perhaps that Jewish lives matter less than Palestinian lives? I don't know the answer. Only they know that. Like so many people in this crisis, they've let their political views get in the way of basic perspective and human decency. Well, now the battle of the hearts and minds, traditionally played out through diplomacy and propaganda, is being played out online. My next guest has almost 500 million views for his provocative commentary online, making him hugely influential. Hasan Piker streams live under the name Hassan Abbey. His analysis of the Israel-Hamas war has taken a highly critical stance towards Israel and Western media, and he's been calling me out for my coverage.
Because he only cares about Israeli citizens. He does not care about Palestinians as human beings. That's why it's apples to oranges. It's like one side is a human, the other side is a barbaric monster child.
See, that's the thing about Hasan, is they don't deal in facts. They don't really deal in facts unless it benefits them completely. If there's contrary facts, they will undermine those facts and at every instance try to discredit that fact in every way it possibly can be discredited, including and especially attacking the person that is suggesting contrary to whatever they are, provoking or providing or suggesting or informing, whatever bullshit nonsense they're putting forth. If there's a contrary argument, if it can be made hostile, appear to be a hostile argument, if they can feign a victimhood towards their argument and suggest the other person is inhumane, schizophrenic, crazy, basement, all the ridiculous, superficial, kind of shallow, repetitive things that the mainstream media tries to use to emasculate and invalidate men. Basically, he's someone that does that. He's that's basically what his agency is there to do, is to invalidate other men, to make other men feel as though their opinions are less informed or less intelligent, so they're schizophrenic if they're to disagree, or to see a fact that is contrary to whatever bullshit he's trying to wool over their eyes he's trying to pull. That is his grift. I mean, he is a fucking social media influencer. And that's the danger of this thing. Using social media, using a streaming service, is there's a danger people are going to start listening and agreeing or liking you or whatever it is, or creating some type of bond where they are no longer interacting on a level that's one to one. It's more like it's that revert. You know, it's the parasocial thing, and it's a comfort. I think it's a comfort because it's almost like having a movie star. You know, like how people used to have like their idols being movie stars or pop icons and things like that, rock stars and all this, and it keeps evolving because I think people need that comfort of maybe having like a folk hero that they can look up to, or just like a leader that they can trust. So there's a danger of that relationship, which is kind of shitty. Like, I don't know, and I guess it goes both ways. I guess women can also have that type of following, but I'm mostly thinking about a type of male relationship where there's a look for camaraderie and being a part of like a clan and having a leader, and you know, understanding the same types of lingo and talk and you know, shorthand, you know, creating that shorthand. You know, breeding familiarity. Let's continue with this dude.
I never said that, obviously. He says that he liked nothing more than to come on to Uncensored and call me a baboon in a suit to my face. Well, here I am, a baboon.
And that's another thing is like he is stuck in he projects all this mental illness onto everybody, yet the platform he's on can create mental illness and this Machiavellian disorder where this person thinks they're this kind of mischievous puppeteer and orchestrator of all of these other people's lives and events, and you know, that they're so much more important and grandiose than what they really are. There's all that. There's all that, and he behaves in that manner. And then when he comes into a space where you know, you actually have to act like an adult, like your uncle Chenk, he does not act like an adult either. He acts like a giant retarded man baby, like literally, like that's Cenk Uygur, a giant retarded greasy man baby, very loud, angry, upset, stinky, smelly, stupid, obnoxious, you know, repetitive, all those things. And he, I think, almost sees himself above his uncle, even though he's just a younger version of the same symptoms that his uncle exhibits, which is the tantruming, crazy, overzealous, over emotional projectionist that is just seething full of biased anger towards a group that they feel has maligned them and maligned everyone else, you know, and they're desperately trying to save everybody from whatever it is, you know, they feel is going on. But the problem is, it's like it's all one eye open, you know. It's all completely one-sided. Hopefully he's dead. Not Hasan. I'm talking about the game. Just to be clear.
And he can join me now. I'm joined by Hasan. Hasan, thank you very much indeed for coming on.
Thank you for having me, Piers. It's very early here in Los Angeles, California, but I'm gonna try to do my very best to not.
Is he stoned? Is he stoned? That's another thing about these streamers. Like, I don't get on mic very often. I only really get on the microphone when I feel like I want to say some shit, and like I feel like I can sustain a stream of thought for longer than, I don't know, 25 minutes. You know, interspersed with nonsensical ramblings about this, that, or the other that are going on around me. Like, for instance, the game or something that catches my mind, like the dog in Up. You know, squirrel Doug the dog. I have to watch that movie again. I was thinking about that movie the other day, and Ratatouille, Up, and Wall-E. Those are top tier Pixar films that I think are like rejuvenating to the soul. Anyways, outside his little bubble, he really does not know how to convincingly communicate his thoughts without sounding like a fucking robot, you know. Hold on. There we go.
Do my British accent while I'm here.
Well, I appreciate that. And listen, I appreciate you coming on. Explain to me why you consider me a
He's so
stenographer
stiff.
for the
He's
Israeli
so
government,
fucking
given that
stiff
in the last
for being
week,
someone.
I think more than.
And that's another thing about streamers. That's a funny thing about streamers, is if you put them in a situation like this where there's a nice set, like an actual set. Like, I've noticed this, is like they really act like they don't know how to be in front of a camera, which is really weird, which is a really fucking weird thing. Like, he looks like he's got to take a shit, or he did take a shit, or maybe someone around him took a shit, because it's just a very unnatural posture, and you know, the direction that he's looking is like, I don't know where the camera is. Maybe he's trying to look at the camera or look at himself in the monitor. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he's looking at himself in the monitor, or like looking for chat. That's what he's probably doing. He's probably looking for chat. He's like, okay, where's chat? Okay, there's the camera. Okay, there's me. Okay, where's chat? Where's all my sycophantic, you know, love boys that just want to tell me I'm the fucking best? All these bots, all these Russian bots that are going to tell me I'm the best thing God ever created. That's part of what he's doing. He's just like, where the fuck?
And any other host in the world, I have given lengthy platforms to pro-Palestinian voices to articulate that side of the argument.
No, I do have to commend you. You certainly have had more pro-Palestinian voice.
The first thing, that's why I as soon as I started watching this, because obviously this is over now. This was live, like, you know, 20 minutes ago at this point, maybe 30 minutes ago. Just because I had to get streamed together, and I was like, okay, this is gonna be fucking retardedly good. This is gonna be so stupid. Like, he's gonna. The first thing he does is commend him. The first thing he does is compliment him. After he's trying to be this stoic hard ass, he makes this retarded joke about a British accent. He doesn't even laugh at his own joke. Like, okay, like, first of all, like, if you're gonna make a joke, make it funny enough so other people laugh, but also you laugh with it. So there's some sort of like levity. That's the whole point. You're creating levity. You're not trying to be a fucking weirdo vampire Dracula. Like, you're not, you know, you're not you're not over here trying to be fucking Rob Zombie's fucking Frankenstein or whatever the fuck. That's what it's kind of what it reminds me of right now is Frankenstein, the way he's looking. Sorry, hold on. And this is the thing, is like, it's one thing to like, I don't even know how to put it. He just has no personality. Like, you put yourself on for all intents and purposes, you put yourself on TV 24/7, i.e. the internet, which is the new TV. You know, it's the same type of functionalities where, or you know, just feeding cruds in her head. You know, just images into her head, just images of light, and we're getting advertisements, and we're being, you know, brainwashed in so many ways, so many words. But it's like you're on TV all the time. You put yourself on TV all the time. And at what point do you kind of hone your craft to the point where you're like, wow, this person is real. That's one thing about Destiny that I will give him credit, but it's just natural. It's not because he has any type of fucking ability just to be a natural on TV or some fucking podcast or something like that. Like, if you watch him on podcast, this is a little fucking slight at Destiny too. If you watch fucking Destiny on podcast, like if he's on panels, he never adds anything funny or humorous to the panel. He's just this little weird autistic person in the corner playing a video game. And that's fine. You can do that, but why the fuck be on the panel unless like you're openly like, hey, I don't get out very much, and I don't talk to people very well, and my version of hanging out and like being a part of a group is sitting in a fucking corner with my head up my ass playing a video game while everybody else has like a really weird, intimate, like deep conversation, or like, you know, sexually charged conversation. I'm just gonna sit here like a weird little voyeur fucking goblin troll bastard saying nothing. Like, adding nothing of like flair. And I'm not talking about like substance. I'm talking about like something that's like funny, something that like gets people like laughing, or like, you know, in a mood that is sociable. You know, I love to argue and I love to debate, but that's not something I would consider to be something that is a sociable move. Hey, everybody, let's debate. Like, people are gonna be like, what? Like, fuck off. Like, we want to party. We want to have fun. We want to talk shit and like laugh and like do fun. You know, the guys in Jackass weren't like, hey, guys in Jackass, let's film each other debating. No, they filmed each other partying and having fun and acting fucking stupid and joking around. Okay? So, for some reason, these streamers that put themselves out there are very bad at doing that. And there's no adaptability. It feels like there was no moment of like, okay, let me hone this weaker side of myself, this weaker trait I have, and be able to be, I don't know, interesting or funny at times and stuff when you actually feel like it, and then putting yourself out there when you do feel like it, instead of just being there like a fucking ghost. like a fucking walking simulation. You know, that's another thing. It's Hasan's like, I'm living in a simulation. All these guys are like, I'm living in a simulation. I'm living in a simulation. And then when you get them out in like a situation where they need to like show some sort of personability, they act like a goddamn fucking a sim character.
Than the rest of the British media, and certainly the rest of Western media in general. Now, as far as
Piers, you can't really see it because it's down in the corner, but Piers Morgan looks like a fucking, like, just a lobster man. Just like, he's like, what am I doing here? Like, I can't believe like this guy is it looks like he's barely alive. It looks like he just rolled out of bed, he just took a shit. Like he looks like he didn't brush his teeth probably. He just had coffee and maybe like a crumpet or some fucking shit. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna entertain this guy for like 15 minutes and see where it goes. And it appears that he does. It appears that Piers Morgan does give Hasan the benefit of the doubt that Hasan is just a fucking retard, just a retard with a platform, and he's gonna give them the respect to be like, okay, Mr. Stupid, like, what do you know? Go ahead, to say what, behave in the manner that you do on your stream in the public eye, and see how that whole thing pans out for you. He gives him the he appears he's going to give him, and he does give him the opportunity to behave in the manner of a fucking streamer, which would basically do the reverse of ingratiating him with the fucking audience that otherwise Hasan would be ashamed and appalled to see someone behave. He would virtue signal towards them and be like, this person's a fucking dipshit, a schizophrenic dipshit, yada yada yada, projection, when in reality that is exactly who he is.
Is saying that you're a stenographer. I said that journalists are not supposed to be stenographers, and yet when it comes down to it, in most circumstances, in whatever conflict we may be in, there are stenographers for whichever party is aligning with the American State Department and the interests of the West in general. And Israel happens to be the one in this ongoing conflict.
But it's interesting that you call me a propagandist, because I want to play you.
Okay. Before we get to the juice, I guess. Before we get to the juice, I've never heard the word stenographer said as much than I did in that like 30 seconds, that minute of like what the fuck, like what when I was listening to it initially before before he said, you know what, let me pause this dumb shit and stream about it. Let me pause this dumb shit and stream about it. This dumb shit, i.e. fucking Hasan, this dumb shit. I was like, what the fuck is they talking about? Like stenographers. And then, of course, this fucking psychotic fairy bastard, if he were to respond to this just, on the offhand, he'd be like, you should be watching. What do you mean? You don't know? Like, you didn't watch my stream. You don't really watch my stream. Like, motherfucker, like, how many hours of nonsensical, just fucking filler nonsense do you have on the internet? Who in their right mind would sit through any of that bullshit? Besides, you speak of people that are mentally ill, but the only person that would do that is someone that is mentally ill, that has like some sort of mental ill attachment to you. And then of course you'd be like, well, you probably have a mentally ill It's like, I personally think you're dangerous. I personally think that raising $1 million for people that are under control by a terrorist regime that just bombed themselves basically and did horrific things to men, women, and children do not deserve that type of support right now, because at the end of the day, I don't know how you think that money is going to get to them. Like, what kind of connections do you have? Do you mind sharing these connections? How are we going to vet that this money is going to get there to these people? Especially when you've been so completely wrong about everything, just about everything. Everything that you're right about is just there to compensate the ridiculous amount of bias you have, because you have an emotional connection to the people or the land or the fucking religion, or I don't know, maybe politically. Maybe it's just a political connection that you have, which is just a fucking sick and disgusting thing. But I wouldn't put it past you, because you're that type of fucking weirdo that is just projecting all your fucking like racial basically bias at this point, because it's the Jewish people, right now that you're aiming something at. It's just not, those guys over there in Israel. It's actually a people, And maybe that's what it takes to expose what kind of fucking ridiculous fucking mouthpiece you are for any sensible diplomacy anywhere. You just need to shut the fuck up. At some certain point, I think you just need to shut the fuck up and realize to take your fucking hand off the wheel and let yourself be fucking wrong. You know, be humbled. Did I get him? Ow, I almost got myself. There, I got him. Shot him in the nuts. I think I did. So this is just the beginning of this Piers Morgan thing, and I do believe this is transformative enough. I think there's enough conversation of commentary to be like, oh, it's not just because how much of this have I played? Barely 3 minutes.
This was your reaction to when the hospital got
I'm
bombed.
a propagandist.
Well, no,
For the record.
I'm not.
See? Oh, are you serious? What the fuck was that about? What the fuck was that about? There must have been a dude in the corner. But right there, that's... Come on. What kind of... I'm a propagandist. I'm a propagandist. So he tells you right there. He, like, the people that you just gave your money to someone pushing propaganda. To pushing fabrication, he's pushing a narrative regardless of its validity. That's what he's doing. He's pushing a narrative regardless of its validity. That's propaganda. That's his propaganda, and it's fucking fucked up. It's sick. He needs to be taken off. He really does. In like a more just society, and I'm not talking about like cancel culture or any of that shit, but just in a place where people would understand the value of basically freedom, independence, democracy, the ability for young people to discern through right and wrong. There would be a governing body that would be like, this person's pushing a lot of bullshit, and let's just put, you know, almost like a ESRB rating on a video game. You know, they put like a stamp like, oh, this one's for like, you know, this is a sports related game, so it's for everybody. Well, like, there should be like a bullshit rating on people. That's honestly, that's what it should be. There should be like a fucking like a board or an agency that we have the ability to actually fact check people, and fact checkers, they should put like a rating on things, like, and it should be able to be actually checked, and he should be on that list as a bullshitter, because he's just constantly bullshitting, and he violently and angrily lashes out with people who disagree with him, and like that type of shit doesn't really matter. Like, people can do what they want to do. The problem is he's raising millions of dollars, and we worry about false news and fake news, and like being able to discern between what's right and wrong, and reality between, you know, falsehoods. And in this case, he was just completely ass out of his mind wrong, and everybody fucking with a mind or with a perspective or an actual eye on what was going on saw that there's something else. This is not just a fucking Israel attack fucking on a hospital that killed fucking thousands of people, blah 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 blah, whatever he was pulling out his ass. And here he is saying, oh no, but I'm a propagandist. Like, this is the type of thing that we do not need in a, you know, democracy. This is these exact type of fucking wrong person to be held up as a standard, you know, of any kind, or like a voice of any kind, you know. If it was a published, if he was like a publisher of a newspaper or some shit himself, and he had to publish his words and stand on his words, then, you know, his shit wouldn't be worth a fucking penny. Like, his fucking name wouldn't be worth a fucking penny. And that's the goddamn truth. If he had to fucking publish any of the shit he says, his name wouldn't be worth a goddamn thing. But the fact that he can just sit on stream all day and then have this fucking random stream of thought 24/7 all the time, whenever his little fucking tight little ass, his little queer little ass, because he's a fucking fag in my opinion, he's a big old fucking grease ball, him and his fucking, you know, it doesn't really make a difference, but him and his fucking uncle have a really weird fucking relationship where they share many mannerisms and they share many things that you wouldn't otherwise attribute to that type of relationship. They are father and son, they are brothers, they're also buddies in a weird way. Then you can also see he is uncomfortable and despises his uncle, and yet he behaves in the same fucking manner. And so in some way, there's some weird connection between the two of them where, like, some intimacy was shared. And I'm not talking about, like, sexual or, like, any type of abuse or anything like that. I'm just saying there was some weird, inappropriate thing between them that has now made them this weird, fucking creepy-ass duo that seems to be pantomiming each other. They literally pantomime each other. Like, Chang tries to act like... What, he just disappeared. Chang tries to act like him when he's around him, and then when fucking Chang's not around him, it's like he's turning into his uncle. It's like he's turning into his uncle, and I've never really seen that. I've never really seen someone do that. Like, turn it, like, you know, everybody turns into their parents, but to turn into your fucking uncle is really kind of peculiar. I believe that's quite a peculiar trait that these two gentlemen have, and I think it's to their detriment, because he fucking acts more like his uncle every fucking year, and it's weird, and then his uncle acts more like him every year. It's fucking weird. So let's go on to this propagandist, and I bring up his uncle because his uncle is also a propagandist. But everybody knows that, you know. The difference is the people that follow Cenk Uygur choose to be fucking just completely blind. They like it. They like hearing the bullshit. They like hearing the nonsensical answers to problems that have just arisen or reshown their face after being basically provoked and harvested by liberal liberal run establishments or areas. But those people, they choose that. With Hasan, he's on a fucking gaming website, which something was originally a gaming website, proclaiming he knows to be the most virtuous. He just proclaims to be the most virtuous person that there is, and knowing everything that is going on, and being able to distinguish, you know, right and wrong to a degree no one else can. You know, it's just utterly ridiculous, and it's quite dangerous to young people, because young people look for someone that can give them some sort of direction. And then you can see it in his chat that people just blindly agree with him as if they are bots, and it really doesn't matter. The only voices he actually does hear are voices that trigger him, because he's projecting, and he needs to project in order to validate his own superiority over people that are like him, or, you know, the reflection of himself. Oh, he can't be that. He can't be that thing because that person's that thing. I'm not that thing. That person's that thing. That person's that thing. You're schizophrenic, yada da da da. It's like, are you on medication? Like, do you take any type of fucking medication? Like, maybe you should. Spending fucking 7 days a week on a computer yelling at people in a chat is probably the most unhealthy pastime or activity you can have. You know? Literally. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? Oh, he's dead. Okay, here they come.
I'm not calling
I'm a
you that. I'm just,
propagandist.
I'm just saying. I'm going to
No,
play you.
I'm saying I am.
Okay, well then I want to
I'm
play.
saying I am.
I just
before
want to
you
put
even play it.
Okay, I'm going to play the clip. This is your reaction to the bombing of the hospital the other night.
Like
While
who
it was in the process.
like who does that? Like who raises $1 million for something and then says I'm a propagandist? And you know what? He is a propagandist. You know what? He's connected to AOC, right? And I bet, you know who I know he's connected with? We're just popping into my head and realizing the person that he's connected to is right behind him, and it's not the one with the X's on the eyes. It's the gay person that's standing right behind him. It's that gay guy right behind him, and it's not about him being gay. It's just I'm, making it so you know exactly who I'm talking about. But it's that gay black guy behind him. He is most likely connected by him to him because it was during his presidency that Hasan started, I would say, being a persona, starting to become a persona. And I'm sure there's some type of internal link there, some type of fundamental link there, some type of fundamental link there, you know what I mean?
Process of getting ready for the stream, Israel enacted one of the singular worst strikes they have done thus far, and an Israeli airstrike hit the Al Ahli hospital in Gaza City, where thousands of civilians were seeking medical treatment and shelter from the relentless bombing campaign.
Now, interestingly, when you were saying that, I was coming on air too, and I took a position based probably on 30 years of being a journalist, running.
Before any of that, he was wrong. He was wrong, not only on what we're presented as fact now of what had occurred, but he was just wrong in his entire fucking demeanor. His entire demeanor was insanely wrong, which is why I'm even talking about this, because I was watching how out of his mind insane he was calling people schizophrenic. He was acting mentally ill with the way he was defending Hamas. He was out of his mind, mentally ill, screaming at people because he would prefer that the actions that occurred to Israelis, whatever it may be, no matter who they were, what age, what sex, doesn't matter. If they were gay, straight, trans, does not matter. They were justified because his side, which is his stance. It's not my stance to say his side or her side. That's how he feels about it. He's already taken sides in a situation that should not have sides for him. This is an atrocity. This is an atrocity. As an American, we should be able to realize that there are certain ways you behave even in warfare. And one way you behave is you don't go after people's families. You do not go after people's families as this is the attack we make. We're not going to go after soldiers. We're not going to go after this, that, or the other. We're actually just going to go straight for the families. And we're going to be the most barbaric as we can. There's no justification for that. We should be more evolved, and to resort to such behavior is demeaning to all of humanity. It's not just demeaning, it's demeaning to himself, it's demeaning to the people he streams, it's demeaning to his family, it's demeaning to the people who died. He's a piece of shit. He really is a piece of shit. Hasan Piker, you're a piece of shit. And you know you're a piece of shit, but you don't care. And the thing is, I don't really fucking care. I don't sit around saying I'm going to have a political fucking stream 24/7. Whenever there's an event, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to be the mouthpiece for fucking the right side of history, which is what you think you're doing. You think you're fucking streaming and being part of the right side of history, which is why you talk all your nonsensical bullshit as if it's fucking gospel, when all it is just your stupid little tiny opinion inflated by a bunch of other fucking people that are just fucking looking for direction, and you exploit that. And you exploit that because you're a fucking tiny fucking human being. You have a fucking huge fucking ego with a huge fucking hole in it. You're a bitch. You're a stupid fucking bitch. And it's funny that you can't, Piers Morgan is not fucking Ricky Gervais, you stupid fucking, like, you have been humbled like you're a little puppy dog in front of fucking Piers Morgan. You look like you're fucking, did you smoke weed before you went on fucking, like, you look terrible. What the fuck are you wearing? Look at your fucking demeanor and your face and your posture. Look how you're carrying yourself. You look like a deflated fucking retard. And Piers Morgan looks like he's barely alive. Like he looks like he barely took his medication. Like he barely sucked enough blood out of a victim to come do an interview with you, you stupid bastard. like have some fucking self-respect. Fucking moron. Like, you're supposed to be your shining fucking moment. You're supposed to come out here like a fucking stallion on a fucking, like, white horse. You're supposed to be the fucking savior of humanity, and the righteous truth. And you look like you're fucking, like, you're a homeless guy they fucking found at a laundromat. It's ridiculous.
Major newspapers, working at CNN and others, of waiting.
I like the pause. And the fucking slow blink. Like, you know what that means? Body language wise, you know what that means? That means he's agreeing. It means he's showing that it's like a cat. Like fucking saying I'm happy, I agree. That's what he's doing. He's showing his fucking ass right now to fucking Piers. He's showing his fucking ass. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. I can't argue that. I can't argue that you worked for some of the most refutable, regardless if they're corrupt or not, or if they spin fake news, whatever it is. They're still the biggest fucking news agencies in the entire fucking world. What do? You fucking scream into a fucking mic at so-called schizophrenic children and man babies and fucking screwheads or whatever you fucking deem them, because you're the superior in that situation because you have a fucking camera on. Imagine that. Like, imagine that. What a powerful voice. What a powerful voice in society. You raised $1 million. Great. For probably terrorism. You stupid bastard. Like, you fucking moron. Stupid shit. Like, where do you think that money's gonna fucking go? Where do you think those supplies are gonna go first? Would you have like a fucking direct pipeline to the people? If you do, why don't you help them more, you silly fucking prick? Like, it doesn't make any goddamn sense. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. That's because he is what he fucking says other people are. He's this fucking degenerate, schizophrenic asshole who just, he's a sociopath. It's not really schizophrenia. This is the problem. This is the problem with someone with Hasan, is he doesn't know what the fuck he is talking about. And it's not schizophrenia, you stupid fucking retarded bastard. It's sociopathy. You're talking about someone who's a sociopath. Someone who just says whatever the fuck. Not giving a fuck. But that is you, you stupid degenerate moron. You're fucking Matt Lauer. You're a glib prick that doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Ever, because you're a sociopath, and because you're a narcissist. Probably you're probably a narcissist too. You are a streamer. This is your fucking full-time job. This is your demeanor. Bars, bitch. Let's continue listening to your fucking uninteresting, no personality having ass.
I'm just saying.
You can't even fucking take on Piers Morgan. It's not Ricky Gervais. You stupid man, baby bastard.
I think we should just wait and see what has actually happened here, get clarification, see who's actually to blame before we start passing judgment. You raced in to assume, as many people did, by the way, including the New York Times, BBC, mainstream media, and of course most of the Arab world then followed, that this was clearly, indisputably, an Israeli airstrike on this hospital. And yet all the evidence now suggests very strongly that it wasn't. That in fact, this was a rocket that misfired coming from a terrorist group inside Gaza. So my question for you is this: Why would you?
I wouldn't go that far.
Why
Pierre.
would you be so certain?
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far.
What you said before you knew.
Okay, so first and foremost, before we get started on this conversation, let's understand something very important here. There's no electricity in Gaza.
I love when he has to mansplain, or not even mansplain, Hasan-splain. He's got a Hasan-splain. You know, he can do this with his fucking chat, because he assumes everybody in his chat are fucking retards. Or retards. He assumes that nobody, like he's the type of idiot that uses his computer for everything, but then doesn't understand that other people also have a computer and they can just look shit up if they need to as well. Like, it's not as if information is necessarily guarded. You just look something up. Just like, oh, okay, well, now I'm informed. And now I'm informed. I wasn't informed before, but now I'm informed, and now I can make an informed opinion still. Just because I was misinformed. And that's the thing about him, is he doesn't expect people to fucking inform themselves. That's why he can just talk all this fucking nonsensical bullshit. But once he gets on Piers Morgan, you know, nothing he makes sense, and he thinks he's still got to explain everything to everybody. It's because he thinks he's in his little bubble still. It's like, dude, you're on national fucking international TV, speaking like you're fucking like you're Mr. Webster. Like, excuse me, Mr. Webster. When are you releasing a encyclopedia? When's your next encyclopedia gonna be released? He's just such a fucking prick. Continue.
Gaza. Internet is patchy in Gaza. There's no food in Gaza. There's no water in Gaza. This is all by design. This is because Gaza is under a brutal blockade, a brutal occupation by the Israeli government. Okay? So that plays a role in the fog of war and the misinformation that gets spread. Having said that, however, you made it seem as though there is a certainty that this was 100% not an Israeli airstrike.
No, I didn't.
And instead,
I literally just said it's not a certainty.
Okay, sorry.
I said the
I
evidence is increasingly pointing to.
Hey, thanks for the host. I don't know if that means people come to the channel. I don't know how it works on here, but thanks for the host. Appreciate it. Thanks for subscribing. Whatever the fuck it is. I gotta replay this because I hear his gibberish is nonsense.
you made it seem as though there is a certainty that this was 100% not an Israeli airstrike.
No, I didn't.
See, that's what he does. That's what he does. That's why we need to rewind it. Because literally, Pierce just said he was waiting to see what the rest of the information was going to be. The other night, he was waiting to see it before to make a judgment, to say it was 100% this, it was 100% that. He was leaving room open so that the fucking information can come in, the real information, the real intel, and they can confirm it or deny it, or they could elaborate on it, or they can totally just fucking disprove it. That's what someone that's going to be on a nightly fucking news station does with an ongoing event, with something that is so ongoing as a fucking war. That's why there's such thing as called the fog of war. That's the fog of fucking war. And Hasan will be, he'll be yelling in his chat, you're in the fog. Like, no, bitch, you're in the fog of war, you stupid fuck. Moron. And that's why he sits there and he projects. You made it sound like it was 100% not Israeli. No, motherfucker. That's exactly the opposite. You sat there minute of, you heard, the minute this fucker heard that there was a strike on a hospital and thousands yada yada were dead, he immediately said it was fucking Israel. Immediately. 100%. It's going to be Israel. It's got to be Israel. It's Israel because of the size of the missile, all the damage. When no one knew the fucking damage. No one really fucking knew anything. But apparently he did. And now he's raised $1 million for terrorists, in my opinion. Because there's no way to get that money to the people unless it's fucking people outside of Palestine. There's no way. Hamas is going to get that aid before any of the fucking people there. We will see what happens now that Egypt and Israel have come up with a thing where, America pushed that there's going to be able to be aid shipped in from Egypt. We'll see how that works out. We'll see. But I don't think that's going to be working out too good. Not with Hamas in control of everything. Everything's escalated to a point where it's either you let them run away and get away, or you make them fight. And the thing is, they also have a choice to run away or fight, and they may very well do both. They could run away and cause mass destruction at the same time, or at least mass casualty loss of their own people, of neighboring people at this point, because they are in a corner. But this fucker, this propagandist, which he is, that's what I should have titled this. I should have titled this Hasan the Propagandist, because that's what he announced himself as. He's a fucking propagandist. He's nothing but a mouthpiece. Someone to fucking shovel bullshit and nonsense and corrupt bullshit and nonsense. To him, it doesn't matter. To him, it doesn't matter. And to even go there in his mind to say, oh, it was Israel. It was Israel. It was. To even have that despicable nature to ride the back of something that literally just happened and to place blame when you are not in Palestine, you are not in Israel, you are in neither of those places. You are some fucking slimy son of a bitch sitting on a computer making money while this event is going on, and you're talking shit like you know what's going on when you don't know a fucking thing. You don't have any skin in the game. None whatsoever. It's fucking... he is shockingly like just a bad fucking nothing person. Like, he is a nothing person. Literally, Hasan is a nothing person. There's nothing inside that fucker but just fucking seething resentment and insecurity. And he's got a superiority complex. He's just a fucking jackass. He's just a big fucking dipshit, and it's sad. It's sad that anybody watches this big pile of shit, because it's not as if the apple falls far from the tree, even though it kind of does in a weird fucking creepy hillbilly redneck kind of weird cousinish way with him and his uncle, if you know what I... So, yeah. He's such a fucking... Like, I hope this completely discredits him, because no one... Like, if I were a parent and I were to see this, and I'd be like, hey, and I would talk to my kid, hey, do you know a guy named Hasan? Do you watch him on the internet? I know you watch Mr. Beast, watch those videos, and sometimes you watch that guy XQC, even though he's kind of weird, and he's kind of, and I know sometimes I don't let you watch him when he's on that other... But do you watch Hasan? And you're like, oh yeah, I heard about Hasan. I don't really watch him. My friends watch him. Oh, I'd be like, okay, well, I don't, that guy's... I don't know how to put it, kid, but I'd just be like, I'm not gonna let my kid watch that. In adult terms, that guy is stupid and full of shit. He's a caca duty brain. I guess I would have to break it down like that. He's a caca duty brain, and he thinks he knows everything, but he's just very mad and very sad and very lonely. Oh my god. Let's see if he actually makes any points, because at this point, I don't think I saw any more of the interview.
I literally just said it's not a certainty.
Okay, sorry.
I said the evidence is
Then I
increasingly
misunderstood you.
pointing to this not being an Israeli airstrike. And that is expert evidence from people who have no skin in the game at all.
Yes. Well, I don't know which expert you're talking about, because I think Channel 4 did a pretty good job. As a matter of fact, I would say Channel 4 did probably the best job so far in analyzing everything that the IDF has said.
Channel 4 probably did the best job, I would say. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, this guy. The audacity to, I'm sure, yeah. When the military needs to identify weaponry, high-powered, multi-million-dollar weaponry, or at least multi-thousands of dollar weaponry, and they need to, have a real expert opinion, I'm sure they call up those those pikers, that fucking piker, hey, call up that piker. You mind if we call up that big old fucking goofy-looking bastard piker? Can we call him up? Would that be possible? Because we just had our entire missile system just went haywire, and we really need some expert eyes on this. This fucking goofy bastard.
But the reason why I believed, and I still do believe...
The reason I believed, and still believe...
that the likelihood is...
That the likelihood... Like, bro, what the fuck is wrong with your voice?
That this was an Israeli bomb.
Why do you make those pauses? Get some fucking water.
Bombing campaign wasn't only because of the singular verifiable video, the phone video from the balcony that had all of the markings of an airstrike, the fact that the Israeli Air Force was enacting a bombing campaign in the region at the time, according to the Al Jazeera live streaming footage that everyone is using but doesn't understand. The fact that the digital media person for the IDF immediately came out and said that this was actually an airstrike that hit a Hamas target, and that he was sad that there were casualties at the end of the day, but this was a Hamas target and celebrated it. And more importantly, I guess, the fact that this hospital had been bombed by Israel. This hospital had been bombed by Israel on Saturday. 22 hospitals have, as a matter of fact, been bombed by Israel since this last saga in the occupation. And this hospital had been bombed directly by Israel, where the cancer ward was destroyed. Israel has been bombing all of these hospitals. Israel has been calling all of these hospitals to evacuate over and over and over again. The medical professionals at the hospital had been called by the Israeli government the day prior, and everyone on the ground assumes that this is an Israeli airstrike. They are the ones who experienced the situation.
Listen, Hasan,
so when you have
but the
every
truth
single,
is,
can I just finish this?
if you watch the
Can I just finish
BBC,
this?
if you watch the BBC account of all this last night, by their Verify unit, which was specifically set up by the BBC to be completely dispassionate in these investigations, and they reached a pretty clear conclusion based on circumstantial evidence. I'll make that clear, that this would not have been an Israeli airstrike, including, for example, the size of the crater, which bears no relation to the size of craters normally left by Israeli air. So, look, my point is, neither of us know for sure, but you took to your airways.
Yes. Yes. With the little limp. Yes. Yes. Oh, you like the sauce? Yes. I like that sauce. Greasy bastard.
To be completely dispassionate in these investigations. And they reached a pretty clear conclusion based on circumstantial evidence, I'll make that clear, that this would not have been an Israeli airstrike, including, for example, the size of the crater, which bears no relation to the size of craters normally left by Israeli. So, look, my point is, neither of us know
Good
for
point.
sure. But you took to your airwaves immediately because actually
he did.
I wouldn't even say unconscious bias, your admitted propagandist bias on your part was that you wanted that to be an Israeli airstrike.
Yep, he wanted it. Yep, he wanted it.
And I would say that
he wanted it.
In
He wanted it. He wanted it.
He
wanted it. He wanted it. He wanted it. He wanted it. He wanted it. Hasan, you wanted it. Bitch, I DM'd you, bitch. I DM'd you in Instagram, and I told you you wanted it. You would fucking, it would overjoy you if you could sell one of your relatives into slavery just for a little bit, for a weekend. Who know? You know, if you could get Chank to get his ass kicked in an alley just a little bit, you know, maybe like a broken finger, or, you know, bloody nose, or like, so that the Israeli strike, it could be, that narrative could be fucking real. You'd be, yeah, go ahead, do it. That's what you would do. You're a son of a bitch. You're a son of a bitch. You'd sell your own mom, you fucking bastard. You're a son of a bitch. You wanted it. You wanted it, which is what's sick. It's what's sick. It's what's sick. It's what's sick. He doesn't disavow the murders by Hamas, and he wants Palestinians dead. It's so it can fulfill his narrative. It's so it can complete his narrative. It's so that he can be right, and he can be self-righteous, and he can be this fucking retarded streaming king of fucking politics and just this the underdog and this new world order bullshit that he's on, who's ever feeding him all this fucking poisonous nonsense. They're doing a good job because he's taking it hook, line, and sinker. And you'd think that someone that has the money that he does, the influence he does, and the connections he does would have a semblance of intelligence, but he does not. He does not have any decorum. He does not have any type of fucking ability to actually stand behind what he says, because what he says is completely built around his fucking inflated ego, which is inflated with emotional fucking flattery and self-aggrandizement and people donating to him and fulfilling this fucking role of this fucking internet folk hero. It's gross. It's gross. He thinks he's Captain fucking Persia or something. He's a weirdo. He's a weirdo. Weird. Hasan, you're weird.
I try and be fair and get to the truth. In your case, I don't think you try to do that. I think you appeal to your audience, appeal to your base, and you don't really care whether the facts are there or not.
This is entirely unfair because you just said circumstantial evidence favors.
This is entirely unfair. You know what's funny? That is exactly what political streamers, like debate streamers, they will go when they can't. When they realize they're in an environment that will not facilitate their outlandish behavior, where they have to represent themselves on a higher plane than their usual fucking low level fucking selves exist on, their fucking scummy little fucking subhuman levels where they live, when they realize they have to buoy up to a platform that is above the scum and the trash that they swim in, the operations no longer, it's like they're in a totally different ecosystem and environment that they cannot exist in without complete modification of all their behaviors and mannerisms. And when they realize that they can't revert to those same prehistoric, primordial, primal, fucking retarded Neanderthal traits and coping mechanisms, they become this little baby, this big baby bitch. And it's like the different, and it's disingenuous. It shows that he is disingenuous. If he were a genuine person, he would behave in the same manner as he does on his streams as he does with Piers Morgan, but he does not. He separates himself. He is a fragmented personality. He's fractured. This guy is fractured. He acts one way with one person, one way with another person, and that's fine if you're being just a generic, hi, bye, hey, can I purchase this? Oh, that's so lovely, thank you, bye. And really, oh no, I really didn't like that other product, I just wanted to act nice about it. It's that type of fucking nicety, but that's when you use it. You use it in these small little fucking momentary glimpses of interaction that are usually based upon awkward exchanges and stuff. This is the inability, what he's showing is the inability to intellectually interface with someone fucking else without being himself. He's got to fucking completely modify his behavior on so many levels. And when he's forced to be in a fucking environment that outclasses him in every way, whether that's dressing, mannerisms, the type of things that you like and the type of things that you do, the time that you spend, the intellect that you actually have, the hobbies that you have, other than sitting online and yelling at fucking people and in a screen 24 hours a fucking day. When you actually have a life, and you actually do something with your life and actually are able to interface with other people intellectually, and you can be yourself, then you do not behave in this manner. You don't act like you're a fucking a wound, like you're at Wounded Knee or some shit, tears on me, please, I'm trying to interact, but you're not agreeing with me, so and I'm a sociopath, I'm a narcissist, and if you're not agreeing with me, then tears on me, you've deeply, what the fuck. This guy is insecure.
That this was not an Israeli airstrike.
Yeah.
I gave you all of the circumstantial evidence that it does favor that this is an Israeli airstrike. The reason why, however, circumstantial evidence is not enough. And the one thing that I will concede to, because when more information did come out, and no, I do not mean when Israel said that they did not bomb this hospital and it was actually Hamas, and then they turned around and went, never mind, it's not Hamas, it's actually Islamic Jihad. And then they said, we have more evidence coming out in a couple hours. And then the evidence came out, and it turns out it sounded like the phone conversations that they were able to intercept, supposedly, sounded like, by experts at the very least, to be completely false and completely made up.
Yeah, but Hasan, I don't think, listen, in all honesty, I don't think, even as you're saying all this, I think you're a smart guy.
Piers, let me finish.
I think you've looked at all of this, and I think in your heart, you know this was probably not an Israeli airstrike. And I'm just curious why you would, instead of admitting that as fact
He's got, look at him. He is so mad. He is so mad because it's the truth. And that's honestly, Hassan, if you're watching this, you make me want to cry because of how fucking corrupt you are, man. Like, you are getting so angry, and it's because he's right. You know it's not the truth, but the thing is, you're leaning into it. You're doubling down. You're like a gambler that doesn't want to accept that they've lost everything. And you're going back to the stake horse, and you're like, please just give me another $1,000. Please, I will win. I'll do it. And he's like, no, I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting you off because all you're doing is losing money. You're like a boxer who has been punched out, and they're calling the fight, and you're starting to punch the referee and everybody around you because you don't realize that if you don't stop fighting, like there's nothing left to win. It's over. Everybody went home. The champion was already crowned, and you're just beating up the people that you love. You're beating yourself up. You're beating yourself up at this point, buddy. You are literally beating yourself up. You know what you need? You need a restraining. You're the type of asshole be like, we need to shut that guy down. We should shut that down. He's talking too real. He's hitting that button too hard. He's hitting that nail too hard on the head. I don't like what he's saying. We're gonna shut that channel down. The truth is, like, if you were to hear this, I'd be like, seriously, take this criticism. You are just beating the shit out of yourself with doubling down on not only ignorance, but on hatred that is understandable. Okay, we get it. You hate the Israelis. We get it. We also get that you're a sociopath and you're a narcissist and you want to be right about everything. And we get that you have this like little bro syndrome from your uncle. We get it. We get it. Just realize you're wrong, and let's move on. Okay? Because at this point, you're making a mockery of everything. You're making a fucking mockery of everything. Because if you're going to base things on lies openly and not even care about the truth, then what the fuck is the point of you, bro? What the fuck is the point? The only point would be is reiterating something that I said earlier, is that you're just an empty fucking shell full of resentment. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be pissed off. It's okay to think that other people are stupid. But don't forget that your shit stinks just as much as everybody else's. That's the key. That's the key to life. The key to life is shit. And it stinks.
That is not what I'm saying. That is not what I'm saying at all.
I don't understand why you would double and treble down when the evidence is pointing the other way.
You're asking me to be on your show. Do you want to talk?
Yes.
If you're asking me to be on your...
Do you hear him? Do you hear him? You asked me to be on the show. Do you ask me to be on the show? You asked me to be on the show. You want to talk? You be like, he went into that mode so quickly. So quickly. I have sometimes I watch panels. I watch these stupid debate panels, stupid Twitch panels and shit. And like the people in the panels be like, I was in debate in high school. I was in debate. And then they'll have absolutely no ability to have a debate, to have an argument about two diverging opinions without divulging into where's mommy, where's daddy, where's the grown-ups, someone help me. See, I hate that. That shit makes me want to slap the shit out of someone. When someone if you no longer want to debate something, just be like, okay, I'm done. I no longer want to debate this. Or like there's certain acceptable conclusions to a debate. Okay, you win a debate, you lose a debate, or you decide to meet in the middle and remain neutral, not even have a debate. But a conclusion to a debate that is not acceptable to me is, I'm a victim, help me, help me, help me, help. That's really what it is help me. In a debate, you don't say help me, bitch. You're having an argument. You're having a fucking debate. You're having a meeting of minds and a clashing of ideas. You don't go help me, okay? Now, if it's a fucking debate with multiple people and different people bring up fucking points, that's fine. But even then, you still don't fucking reach out your hand and say, fucking help me. If the fucking person on your side can come to your assistance by providing any type of information that supports what the fuck you're saying, then that is an assist. But you don't fucking say, help me, I'm a victim. Are you gonna let me speak? Help me, wait.
Your show, and I want to be on the show. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
So he is such an insecure fuck. At the same time, he's saying you're offending me. He's saying at the same time he's saying you're offending me by not letting me speak. Are you gonna let me speak? At the same time that he's trying to imply that Piers doesn't know how to fucking interview a guy that has a goddamn show on fucking international TV or whatever the fuck. This guy is known all over the world, 100 times over Hasan. This guy's like it's laughable. Hasan, you're a jackass. You're a jackass. Imagine going on to fucking Larry, what's his name? What's the interview's name? Larry King. Imagine going on Larry King's show and being, excuse me, Larry, you're not letting, are you gonna let me speak? Fuck you, Larry, but thank you for letting me on the show, Larry King, Mr. King. What a total tool. What a total tool.
Let me explain exactly what I said, and let me explain to you why I think still, to this very moment, until there is a third-party investigation that is concluded by the UN, the International Criminal Court, or specifically a forensic analyst that looks at the situation, is allowed to be on the ground. This is not just my perspective. This is B'Tselem as well, which is an Israeli organization that has also demanded a third-party investigation occur. I am not going to conclusively say that this was not Israel's fault.
I don't expect you to.
Because I just gave you, and not because I'm a propagandist. As far as me being a propagandist goes, everyone is a propagandist. I'm just honest about it. You're a propagandist.
What? Okay, see, that just proved my point. That, hey, Hasan, you stupid fucking retarded, you're like the master of retards. You're literally like the master of autistic fucking liberal snowflake retards. Like, I called you a projectionist. That's my term for someone that just projects all their insecurities and all their behavior onto other people because they're such fucking narcissistic sociopaths that they don't see it. That they've been such a narcissist, they've been such a sociopath for such a long time, they don't even see their behavior. That all they do is they resent their own behavior. And so they project it out there. So earlier he's like, I'm a propagandist. I'm propaganda. And then he says, but everybody's, let me just clarify. Everybody's propaganda. Everybody's a propagandist. Like, are you kidding me? Like, someone back in the 90s, you could say, if this were the 90s, okay, let's put this in a context. Let me put this in a theoretical context, a hypothetical context. If this were the 90s and Hasan was in the 90s and I was in the 90s and we had like a talk show and I was like on a ham radio or some shit, I could say someone needs to kick that guy in the nuts. So in the context of the 90s, someone needs to kick that guy in the nuts. As of 2023, whatever. If he gets kicked in the nuts, I'm not going to cry about it. But in the 90s, definitely in the 80s, you could say worse. But let's keep it 90s. Someone needs to, and in the 2000s, you could say someone needs to kick that faggot in the nuts. But let's go back to 2023. Let's be politically correct for our current time and standard. Oh, Jeebaloobus.
We have our
I'm
biases.
curious who you think I'm a
I am at least
propagandist
honest
for.
about my biases.
Who do you think I'm a propagandist for?
Who do I think you're a propagandist
Yeah.
for? Whichever every media person is doing propaganda.
Yeah, but who?
Idiot. He is a moron. He's literally a moron. He's literally a moron. Like, if you follow this guy, please do yourself a favor and spend either you can either spend your time trolling him if you so choose to do so. I'm not telling you to do anything, because apparently if someone says something online and you do it, then they've incited. But I'm not telling you to do it. But if you feel like trolling him, go at it. Because in reality, if you're watching him unironically, you're wasting your time. If you're watching Hasan Piker, Hasanabi on Twitch, unironically, you're wasting your time. Really. 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 You hear that, bitch? You hear that, Hasan? If people are watching you unironically, it's a waste of time. In reality, the real viewers are watching you because you're a fucking schizophrenic, narcissistic, sociopathic, crazy capitalist, lying piece of fucking shit. And you're funny. You're funny because you're stupid. You're funny because you're stupid. Then you get mad. You get mad. You get mad when people call you out for being so fucking retarded. And that's hysterical, because you take yourself, when you know how you say, you're such an unserious person. Well, Hasan, you are such a serious person. And that's why it's so funny when you get mad. Because you think like you're king shit or something. But you're just a dumbass. You're just another dumbass on the internet like the rest of us. Ding, ding, ding. Sorry to burst your bubble. You're just another dumbass. You're just another dumbass. Like, probably want a cracker, you stupid fucking goofy looking bastard.
But who for? I've got to be doing it for somebody.
You think it's a bad word. I don't. That's just the difference. This is a semantics
I think it's actually quite a
that is
serious charge.
uninteresting.
Hasan, I think it's a serious charge to level, not as a podcaster, but as a journalist who's broadcasting around the world, who has a reputation, I believe, for being fair and impartial, actually, on these issues. It's quite a charge to just say, I'm a stenographer for the Israeli government, or I'm a propagandist. I don't think there's any evidence that I'm either of those things. I'm curious who you think I am doing
While
the
we're
propaganda
having this
for.
conversation, 3,000 Piers, while we're having this back and forth.
Do you see? He cannot take any type of critical analysis of the shit he says. He has no personality. Like at the beginning, that's exactly what I pointed out, is he comes on, he has zero fucking charisma. He has zero personality. He can't even laugh at his own joke. He can't even fucking smile. He's a shell of a human being. He looks like he's there under hostage. He looks like Hamas has got a gun pointed at him and be like, you better take this interview before we cut your balls off. Like, he looks like he is just completely out of his depth. He cannot take any type of factual analysis of the situation. None of the facts that Piers presented to him matter. None of it fucking matters. He projects onto Piers. He preemptively projects onto Piers behaviors that he's going to exhibit or already exhibit or pathologically exhibit. And now he cannot like back this ridiculous position of everyone. I'm a propagandist. Everyone's a propagandist. I'm in it. Like Like, like what the fuck? Like what the fuck? Like just as a hypothetical, Hassan, that's like you saying, that's like Hasan Piker saying, I'm a rapist, so everybody's a rapist. Like, what the fuck? Like, are you retarded? Like, how madly retarded are you? Like, what kind of sense in that noodle macaroni brain, like, is there any logic to be found to what the hell you are saying and thinking? Like, the fact that people donated millions of dollars to you is a disservice to everyone. It's not a help. You obviously, you know what? Honestly, Hassan, if you were to ever hear this by any chance, do not give that money to the Palestinians. Take that money, put it in some type of trust or something, and go to rehab. Go to rehab for being retarded, or being severely autistic, or being extremely narcissistic, or just being an asshole. Like, go to rehab just to fucking recenter your shit. Get better. And I wouldn't even be mad. I would be like, I would support that. I would say to all your sycophants or whoever follows you that ends up turning on you, if you were to take that money, I would say, you know what? That money was never, ever going to get to the fucking Palestinian people. That was going to get to either terrorists, or that was just going to fucking disappear and become some fucking tax write-off or some fucking whatever nonsense. But at least he's taking this money and he's going to use it to get better and not be such a fucking nutty clown fucking bastard. Not be such a coconut-headed fucking weirdo. He'll stop being a propagandist, please. Use that money to stop being a propagandist. Stop being a bitch, Hassan. Stop being a bitch for whoever you are a bitch for. Stop being a bitch for whomever you're being a bitch for. Stop it. Stop it. Take the money and run. Just stop it. Stop being a bitch. You're not a good bitch. There's better bitches out there. You're gonna be replaced soon. We can all tell you're gonna be replaced soon by a bigger, better bitch. This is your downfall. This is your demise, because you look like the stupid, retarded clown that you are. Let us continue on the downfall of fucking Hassan.
3,840 Palestinians have been ruthlessly slaughtered in the last incursion into Gaza. I feel like this is an incredibly selfish, self-centered conversation to have. You asked me to be on here. You wanted to...
See, he's going in circles. He's going in circles. Thank you for having me on here. Why am I on here? I'm so glad that I'm on here, but why am I on here? People are dying. Well, you hear how self-righteous this asshole is? Do you hear how self-righteous this asshole is trying to be? At first, he's trying to be like, you're going to let me speak? I'm a little girl. Protect me. I'm the thing that needs to be protected. I'm a little fragile little thing. I'm an innocent. Please protect me. I'm an innocent. And then he goes into this self-righteous fucking moniker, this nasty little outlandish fucking outburst, this little tantrum of, oh, well, I'm here. Thousands of people are dying. And while I'm having this conversation, I could. There's so many better things to be doing, but thank you for having me here. Like, whoa, like talk about like schizophrenia. Like literally, he is showing bipolar disorder. He's just showing bipolar disorder, and he's showing what is it? BPD. I don't even know what it is. What is it? What is it? What is it? BOD. Borderline, there you go. Borderline. He's showing borderline personality disorder with how crazy he's going everywhere. I am not a doctor. I don't know for sure. He projects schizophrenia. He projects everything onto other people that he is. So it would not surprise me that it actually is Hassan who has we're not even calling it schizophrenia because that's not even the correct term anymore, which shows how outdated it is. That's literally like calling someone with Down syndrome retarded, and in like not using the term as a slur or unironic way with your friends or with someone that you think's retarded. Like I think Hasan is retarded. I don't mean actually retarded, but he's using schizophrenia as if it were like an actual medical term that people use in order to diagnose someone that is dealing with a personality issue, which obviously he is, because that's what he's actually talking about. He's not talking about a fucking schizophrenia, someone that actually has fucking voices in their fucking head and hallucinations and shit. We're talking about someone that has a fucking personality disorder, which Hasan obviously does. Borderline motherfucker.
You wanted to hear my perspective. I'm willing to give it to you. I don't want to talk about like I don't want to talk about Noam Chomsky style manufacturing consent conversations about how the media is operating in the behest of capital.
You were the guy. Listen, you were the guy that called me.
There are dead people.
Listen, Hasan, I only asked you because you're the guy that called me a propagandist and called me a baboon in a suit. I was curious as to why. You don't want to say who I'm doing the propaganda for. We'll move on. I agree with you. There's a bigger picture here. Let's move on. Let's take a short break. Hasan, let's take a short break. I want to come back. I want to talk to you about what happened on October the 7th. Get your reaction.
Wow, he is so pressed. He is so pressed. He does not know how to be an adult. He doesn't know how to talk to an adult. He doesn't know how to be an adult. He is so fucking pressed. He is so how old is Hasan? Is Hasan like 19 years old? Is he like 21? How old is this fucker? Seriously, how old is Hasan Piker? He's 32 years old. Holy shit. Holy shit. He's got issues, man.
Reaction to that.
I don't even know what to say to that. I feel bad for him now. This guy's retarded. And I just mean that as like a jab of how fucking messed up this guy is. He is obviously unwell. No wonder he projects all... No wonder when he's arguing with people, he projects all these mental illnesses out onto the people he's arguing with. It's the first thing he does is he goes into mental illness. You know what? I would put money... I legitimately would put money on the fact that Hasan is most likely borderline personality, but he has borderline personality disorder. I would put money on it. I would. That's crazy. Wow. Poor guy. I'm being real condescending because he's a piece of shit. So, yeah. You're hearing the tone right. I really don't care about him. I'm not going to lie. I really don't care.
Welcome back. Hasan Piker is still with me.
He could fall in a cactus and I would just laugh.
The October 7th terror attack.
Okay, I'm not that heartless. I would feel kind of bad. That sucks.
Music festival, which killed
but I'd still laugh.
Look at this guy. You know what shouldn't happen? Killing 260 people at a music festival. No, you're right. That just happened on its own because like bad guys wanted to do bad things. You're right. Dude, if they subjugated you to a open air prison your whole life, you're going to break out eventually when you realize that there's no other way to get out of it.
I mean, it sounds to me there, Hasan, that you are in some way saying they had it coming.
Wow. Yeah. Were you? You piece of shit?
I wouldn't say that they had it coming. I think that Michael Brooks used to say, analysis is not justification. And while obviously civilian casualties and horrific barbaric acts that were committed on October 7 are completely unacceptable, the important thing to make sure that it never happens again is to analyze what are the conditions as to how it happened to begin with. And I think Ehud Barak is going to be on in a little bit as well, or maybe he's on before me. Yeah. And I'm almost certain that while he has held the keys to the conversation and held the levers of the power in this conversation in many key and critical points, I would go so far as to say that he is among many others who also recognize that the Bibi Netanyahu administration is responsible. This is not just my assessment. This is 85% of the Israeli population's assessment at the time. This is years and years and years of refusing to negotiate with the Palestinian Authority. Don't take my word for it. Take Bibi Netanyahu's personal word for it. In 2019, in a closed-door conversation with Likud members, he said that if you want to thwart any kind of Palestinian nation state, you must do everything you can to only negotiate with Hamas. We control how high the fire goes. He has given cash to Hamas by way of Qatar. There is no bigger fan of Hamas than Bibi Netanyahu, which I hope one day you can maybe interview, and then you'll ask him to.
No, I actually did interview him a few months ago, and I did actually spell out to him that there have been a lot more Palestinian deaths this year so far, up to the point of the interview, than Israelis, and what he intended to do about it. He said then he didn't believe in collective responsibility, which is now this hot phrase in this whole crisis about whether you would hold all people in Gaza responsible for Hamas. Interesting to see if when they...
Can I ask you a question?
Let me just finish my point. If they do then launch a ground invasion, it'd be interesting to see if they keep to that word. You know, I'm not a defender of what Bibi Netanyahu has been doing in Israel. In the last year, his attack on the credibility and integrity of the Supreme Court, I think, has been a disgrace. And I think it has fractured society in Israel. I also think that it's caused so much social unrest and had such big protests that you could argue it's taken the eye off the ball of the people who should have been defending the border because they've been trying to sort out what's been going on domestically, internally inside Israel. So I think it's a catastrophic failure of intelligence, of security, of defense, all of those things. I'll be amazed, frankly, if Netanyahu survives this. So I'm certainly not here to defend him, even if you do view me as a stenographer for his government. My question for you, I think, is this, is that I've had a lot of problems trying to get people on the pro-Palestinian side.
Good boy, Hasan.
Separate two things. That you can say, as I believe and you believe, that the Palestinians have been maltreated for decades. That the situation where they are effectively, I mean, I don't even call it an occupation because Israelis aren't in Gaza. They pulled out in 2005, but they still control the ability of Gazans.
This is why I call you a propagandist.
I'm just saying the phraseology is confusing to me because the reality is Israel exercises control over people in Gaza. It allows them in and out. It allows them to turn on the tap of water and so on and so on. I get all that. They don't actually live there because they can't live side by side with each other.
That's why it's called an open-air prison.
Right. I don't disagree with...
That's why they call it the world's largest open-air prison.
Yeah, but Hasan, I don't disagree with you. And I have pointed this out for a long time as a journalist. So we don't disagree about the appalling plight of Palestinian people. But the issue comes that if you can't separate that ongoing dispute between Israel and Palestine from the absolutely appalling barbarism of October the 7th, which was on a whole different scale to anything we've seen, where 1,400 people, Holocaust survivors, babies in their cribs, you know, young women taken, tortured, abused, shot, beheaded, it was reported, and so on. If we can't look at that collectively, with a general humanity and agreement that that is an absolute atrocity, then there's something wrong with this. And I find that the tribalism on both sides is now so toxic and so frenzied that you get people who literally can't. We've had a bunch of actors, right, signing this statement saying they want a ceasefire in Gaza and calling Israel war criminals and so on. But they don't say a word about the Hamas attacks that precipitated this. And I find that really hard,
them, right?
really hard to accept.
But do you agree with them? If they had said, for example, that October 7 attacks were brutal and massacres occurred, and then they said everything else, that Israel is committing war crimes, would you agree with them?
Okay, here's what I would honestly say about that. Is Israel not allowed to defend itself from the worst terror attack we've seen since 9/11? Is it not allowed to defend itself after 1,400 people in Israel are butchered in that way? And the question then, if you assume that they are able to defend themselves, as any free democratic country,
that is the Israeli State Department line, that is the IDF's line, that is the line that everyone
let me ask you this. It then becomes a question of how can they defend themselves? If their mission now is to get rid of Hamas, a terror organization that's committed one of the worst acts of terror ever seen, if that is their stated aim, then what they are doing is consistent with that, isn't it?
No. Here's why this is actually an abject failure, and this is not just my perspective on the matter. I'm just a dumb idiot with a Twitch stream who is live reacting to the news and trying to make sense of everything as it's ongoing.
Exactly.
I usually have a policy of not covering
See, and that's another thing that someone that's like totally just projecting is like he has an inkling that he's full of shit. He knows he's just a fucking nothing yelling at a screen fucking 45 hours a week at people he doesn't know, he'll never meet, and that he doesn't really care about. For him, it's just a LARP, But he doesn't cop to the fact that it's just a LARP. He says it ironically in order to cover himself like a shield. It's a feigning of weakness, or a feigning of fallacy or fallibility. Like he's just normal. He's just a person like everybody else, and he's just a little nothing shit like everybody, blah 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 blah. In reality, when he's really got a really bad superiority complex against everybody, he self-aggrandizes himself.
breaking news, and sometimes that policy is violated. But ultimately, I am not held up by the same journalistic standards, even though I think I do a much better job than most other news outlets in general. So let me just say this really quickly. You said Israel has a right to defend itself. Absolutely zero people think that this is a ridiculous statement. However, how Israel is defending itself is collective punishment. Now, collective punishment in the form of depriving 2.2 million people of electricity, collective punishment in the form of depriving them of water, of food, collective punishment of in the form of 51 people dying in the West Bank, where there is no Hamas in the West Bank. And
no, the problem is he thinks he's this self-righteous superior, and he's the only one in the Western world who's got these opinions, as if there's no one in the right mind that can be able to hold two diverging stances in their mind and be like, okay, I don't like what Israel's doing, but I also really fucking condemn what Hamas is doing, and I will never support them. Like he's very obtuse in the way he sees people. There's no nuance at all in the way he views people. It's because he's a fucking narcissist. He doesn't see people as real fucking human beings. He just sees people as whatever plaything he's got in front of him, And I think that's very dangerous, because he's raising money and he's supporting these causes that he really has no business sounding off on, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and he actually really doesn't care. At the end of the day, he really doesn't care, other than what it makes him appear as, which is disgusting. It makes him a real fucking disgusting person. It's just to pepper and salt and to spice and to decorate his persona, because in reality there's no one there. You know who Hasan is? Hasan is Patrick Bateman, and not a good kind, not a kind that does coke and fucks hookers and does funny weird racist shit. No, not that kind of Patrick Bateman from the 80s. He's this 2023 disgusting, despicable, just mask of a person that uses these events in order to make it seem like he's better than he is. He's literally Patrick Bateman. Hasan Piker, you're fucking Patrick Bateman, and not in a good way, bro.
And yet 51 people have died because in the West Bank, settlers that are occupying Palestinian territory in violation of the international law, settlers who are doing an act of colonial terrorism, and this is not my statement on it, this is international law, that are doing horrifying things by simply just existing there and maintaining the presence with an occupying force in the form of IDF, who is ritualistically humiliating Palestinians in a structure that B'Tselem, an Israeli organization, calls the permit regime, where every waking moment of Palestinians' lives in the West Bank are absolute hell, where they have no legal recourse. 51 Palestinians have died, and that was before the Ramallah protest that happened last night, and the Israeli forces were opening up with live fire on protesters last night. So who knows what that death toll has become? This is all a product of Israel being an apartheid state. This is a violent apartheid state. There is no way to be a peaceful
all right, Hasan,
apartheid
let me ask you
state.
this.
It
Let me ask you this.
is a violence.
Let
It
me
is a
ask you
violence
this then.
required for its maintenance.
Okay, listen.
And that violence is frustrating people.
I hear
that
you.
violence
I
is
hear you.
radicalizing people.
But here's
Hold
my-
on.
I hear
As
you.
far as Israel, as far as what Benjamin Netanyahu has done, as far as the war government, what they have done, Piers, going into Gaza
Yeah.
and bombing Gaza and killing 3,480 Palestinians so far in Gaza, 1,000 plus children out of all of those casualties, 22 hospitals being bombed, a bakery, the only remaining intact bakery being bombed yesterday. These are horrifying crimes that you would openly say are horrifying and unjustifiable when Russia does it, but when Israel does it, Israel has a right to defend itself. This is identical to the same talking points that I've heard from every Israeli administration official. It's the same talking points that I've heard from American politicians championing the exact same talking points. It's the same thing that I've heard from everyone else in the media. You might have been against the Iraq war, and you use that, but you're using that for evil, in my opinion, at this point, if you are not sitting here and condemning those acts of war crimes, those acts of violence, those acts of collective punishment.
Well, I would say to that I think the death of any child in this conflict is horrific, absolutely horrific. But the question comes down to me that after an act of terror, as we saw on October the 7th, Israel should be able to defend itself and should be able to go after the people that perpetrated that, who live amongst civilians in Gaza deliberately. And the question for me becomes down to what is proportionate. I don't know the answer, Hasan. I'll be honest with you. I don't know what that answer is.
I do know the answer to that. Last night I had Dr. Ofer Kassif, an Israeli Knesset member who was...
Do you hear him? Do you hear him? Do you hear him? God damn it. I do know the answer to that. I do know. For thousands of years, these people have been fighting, but they did not have Hasan Piker there to tell them what they need to do. They did not have me there. Now that I'm here on Earth, sucking up all the air in the room, I can finally tell you the secret. What a stupid bastard. What a fucking... just a bag of hot air.
Expelled, suspended for 45 days for saying what I believe is the truth. Championing the exact same position of the Haaretz's editorial board. There are a lot of thoughtful people, a lot of formative Holocaust scholars, a lot of historians that all agree on the same point. The reason why violence that even penetrates through the Israeli security blanket that people thought existed, that penetrated through that Iron Dome, the Iron Wall, if you want to call it that, is because of years and years of oppression and years of violence, which is a necessity to maintain an apartheid state. And this has to stop. There's only two ways out of this. Either you engage in full-blown ethnic cleansing, and if you listen to the likes of Smotrich, or if you listen to the likes of Itamar Ben-Gvir and these very unfavorable, unpopular, far-right figures, if you listen to Netanyahu and his Likud government, they say that they are interested in going in that direction, the ethnic cleansing direction, the ethnic displacement direction, or the only way out of this for a real solution is to move towards peace, to genuinely end the blockade, to end the apartheid, to end the occupation, and create a pathway towards citizenship for all people with a right to return, for all 14 million Palestinians, 5 million of which live under Israeli occupation. It's brutal. And then the rest living in diaspora. These are not unreasonable requests. These are requests that understand the dignity and the humanity of one side and does not simply treat them as their colonial subjects.
Hasan,
and it's the only way to create permanent security and prosperity in the region.
If it was as simple as that, I'm sure that would have happened already. I would say this. I agree with a lot of what you've just said. Not all of it, a lot of it. I don't think you can ever achieve peace now with Hamas controlling Gaza. I don't think you can achieve peace with Netanyahu in charge of Israel, actually, after this. I don't think his own people will want him to be in charge of Israel down the line when they examine exactly how this happened. But we will see. But Hasan, I've got to leave it there. Look, it's good to talk to you. You know, you're an important, influential voice to a lot of people. And I think we have a lot of common ground, and there are some things that we disagree about. But I suspect it's not as much as you think. You know, I do think that the core problem here has got to get resolved in a way that's been completely ignored for decades. And until it gets resolved, until the plight of the Palestinian people is resolved, until all these young people in Palestine feel there's some sense of hope and they can get out of what effectively is, as you say, a prison camp, then nothing is going to change. I don't think it justifies
Well,
in any...
let
me just say, I've got to finish it, but I don't think it justifies in any way what happened on October the 7th. But I do agree with you that until that core problem gets resolved, there will never be peace. Hasan, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
I'll send the next topic.
What a prick. What a prick. What a prick. He didn't even look him in the eye metaphorically. Because he's looking at a camera, he's looking at a screen, he's looking at a feed. He didn't even look him in the eye and said, "Thank you for having me." Pierce undercut Hasan's walls and his defenses by giving him flattery, because Pierce is smart. I believe that Pierce, he's kept it cool, he's kept it stoic the entire time. I don't know if I've ever seen Pierce so reserved and stoic ever. And it's because I think Pierce realizes what he was dealing with. He realizes that Hasan's just fucking a nutball. And he knew that the best way to placate someone like Hasan, who's a narcissist, is to flatter him. So he immediately started to flatter him at the end, to dismantle him, to shut him the fuck up, to put his defenses down. And then he told him, like, these are the facts of how you see things, how I see things. This is where it lies. These are where we agree, where we disagree. Thank you for coming, da da da. But Hasan didn't even have the ability. He didn't even have the human ability, the non-fucking borderline personality ability to just fucking look at the camera, smile, and say, "Thank you for having me." He is literally a man-child. He's a completely up his own ass. The fact that he didn't just annihilate Piers in some type of fury, retarded, fucking egomaniacal, tantrum-esque debate where they're yelling and fucking calling each other all other types of nonsense. The fact that he couldn't do that, he went away bitter, and it's just disgusting. You are just a pitiful, disgusting example of a man. Like, you are what's wrong with men. Like, you need to get your shit straight, man. You need to just fucking take a break from all this white knighting and being on the right side of history. Who gives a fuck at the end of the day? Because the truth is, you don't really give a fuck. It's obvious you don't give a fuck. You don't care. You just chose a side, and that's all. You're just riding it because you think it's gonna get you somewhere. You're literally Patrick Bateman, dude. Like, you just want to fucking use your position of power to subjugate others, and you want to fucking act morally superior. You're fucking Patrick Bateman. All right, well, that's about it.